Well, I'd like to call this meeting of the Permanent Municipal Building Commission Ordinance Review Subcommittee to order. Please stand as you're able for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
the flag
of the United
of
States
the
of
United States of America
and to
and to the republic which
stands
stands one
under
nation
God,
under God,
indivisible, with
indivisible,
liberty
with
and
liberty and
justice for all.
justice for all.
Okay. Right, and Lauren, would you call the roll?
Chairman Ford,
Here.
Councillor Nagel,
Yeah,
and Councillor Rada.
Here.
You're all here.
Thank you. Great. Well, now we'll open up. I apologize if I'm missing something, but I don't have my agenda in front of me. We will open it up to public participation. If you are online, please feel welcome to raise your hand via Zoom.
I don't see any public on the meeting.
Perfect. All right. If none, then we will move on to remarks by councilors on public participation. Any remarks, councilors? We're good. Great. We are moving through this. And to the meat of it, the fun part, we'll begin our review again. I should say pick up where we left off. Lauren, tell me if I'm wrong, but I think we left off on page 5 of my copy. Does that jive with yours as well? I should reference a section. This is page 4 for me, is the beginning of building project procedures. Oh, I'm sorry. So I think we left off on the end of page 3, beginning of page 4.
Correct. We got
Perfect.
the reimbursement and we're on building project procedures, and I will
Perfect.
share my screen. That way, we are all looking at the same thing. Okay. So now you all should be seeing, oh,
Great.
right, it's working. Okay. Sorry, it's like black
Yes,
on
we
my
can see
screen.
it.
It shows that you guys are seeing a big black screen, but hopefully it's working.
We can see it. I can see it. Can the other
Okay.
counselors see it?
Perfect.
yes.
Okay. All right, great. So
Okay.
we'll jump right into this and do what we've done, which is, Lauren, if you want to go through section by section, we'll pause when there's discussion, and counselors feel free to jump in, and we'll keep moving through this. So I'll turn it over to you, Lauren.
Great. So we are on building project procedures. Establishment of the proposing body is first, and I'm just going to start expanding the notes that you see in the margins. Should the town council or the town manager determine a need may exist in the town for major construction of a town or board of education building, the council shall establish a proposing body to review the project and determine the statement of need. Matt has a note. There are several notes on this one item, so we'll just start with the first one. It makes it sound like the council would be required to establish a proposing body if the town manager identified a need.
Yeah, I suggested, and other counselors feel free to jump in, but the way that that's written sounds like should the town manager identify a need, then the town council would then shall establish a proposing body. So I thought, obviously the town manager is inherent in all of our processes as an advisor before any council action. So I thought maybe something like, should the town council, in consultation with the town manager, determine a need, etc. How do we feel about that change?
It's kind of like a given one way or the other, so I don't know whether it matters. I wouldn't oppose it if you want to change it.
Yeah, I like that, because that means that the town manager is not working independently, but has to come to bring this to the council.
Perfect. So we will make that change. Great. the, oh, Lauren, if,
No, I was just gonna say, you'll see this note here that we removed major upkeep, and that's just because we, decided to go through and make the entire document consistent, so we'll resolve that comment. So do we need to have a statement about the makeup of the proposing body? And
Yeah,
that's a conversation you guys should have.
that's right. So obviously, if you'll recall, we solidified the language describing who is made a part of the actual building commission, and who is put up or recommended, I should say, by the proposing body, etc. But nowhere in here yet have we defined who is the proposing body necessarily, what who sits on the proposing body, what the makeup of that proposing body looks like, etc. So as an example, just to jog folks' memory, let's say that the gangs getting back together on the pool. I'll use it as an example. And the proposing body in this case would be the pool committee. And obviously that has to abide by specific makeup requirements, etc. We could certainly just put, in accordance with the town charter, it must, have that membership. But having some reference to it, we don't yet have a reference to it. So just want to open some discussion about that. And also to you, Lauren, if you even think that that's necessary beyond just kind of referencing back to the way these bodies must, be constituted in our charter.
Yeah, the only thing we have in relation to proposing body is the definition at the beginning of the document. And that's on page 2.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, we could certainly define it there too, if that, I think, as a matter of fact, it might be better to live there, but Lauren, do you have any recommendation on that at all?
Yeah, I think it's probably okay as written. I worry that if we were to add in this other language about composition and makeup, it would convolute the fact that a proposing body can also be a department, right? It doesn't necessarily have to be a board or commission or elected body. So I think we can probably leave it as is, and it's, purposefully vague because a proposing body can be several different types of established organizations within the town.
I agree. If you get too specific here, you get in the weeds. And as we know, everything is not the same, and almost everything there's a unique quirk that's for a valid reason. So getting too clear might to other problems in terms of this being effective.
Good. That's good.
The only question I have, where it says the town council, the last part of the sentence, the town council shall establish a proposing body, shall establish or identify. I don't know, because if I'm thinking if the proposing body is a department, if it's the Board of Ed, if it's the fire department, we're not establishing the proposing body necessarily, but we are acknowledging it or identifying it, correct?
Yeah, so that's a really good call. I like that change.
Yeah, me too.
No problem.
Okay.
Great. Doesn't look like we have additional comments on that section, establishment of proposing body. Any additional comments from counselors on that section?
On number 2 or the entire section?
This is just on number 1, establishment of proposing body.
Okay. No, I'm good with what's there.
Great. Thank you, Lauren. We can move on to 2.
Number 2, establishment of needs. So we did make some changes to this one, and you'll see Matt's comment about setting a time frame. we've inserted within 90 days of the town council establishment. So should we do, before we talk about the 90 days, within 90 days of town council establishment or identification?
Mm-hmm.
Just so it keeps consistent. Okay. So basically, if the town council says, hey, we think that there's a need here and we're going to establish or identify the proposing body we're suggesting now has 90 days to review and then come up with their establishment of need. Is everyone okay with that 90 days?
Sure.
90 days seems like an awful long time.
You never
I mean,
know.
in some instances, it might be a good thing to have 3 months, and in other situations, it might just seem like it's dragging on interminably, and people will be asking, well, what's going on with this, or we'll even kind of forget after a month what's happening.
It does say within.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm all for judiciousness, but I think the 90 days is quite a speed up from the speed at which our town has pursued projects in the past. So I think it's actually quite a laudable goal. 90 days. It's somewhat of a miracle.
Yeah, I would recommend keeping it within the 90, just because if we have to go get like a consultant to come in and confirm something for us, if we need to do a study, I just feel like that gives us enough time to kind of give us whatever oomph we need behind it.
Great. Any other comments on section 2, establishment of need? We're good. Okay, section 3.
Project initiation. So we've made some changes here. We've already resolved a comment because I believe the last one we talked in another section about how we had kind of the steps out of order. So we resolved this comment from the last meeting, but is there any other conversation that we want to have about these changes that we've made to the project initiation?
So I just want to confirm, Lauren, your comment there from a previous draft about switching the second and third clauses. We have now done this on the red language that's written here.
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we had it as appointing 2 members and then charging a commission. We swapped it to charge the commission and then appoint your 2 members.
That's right.
I've got a question regarding the TPZ. It shall refer the proposed location of the facility to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission for its review, consistent with, okay, we've got that. And that's the only mention that I saw of the TPZ. So my question is, do we need to have a statement or have some kind of language in here about when the council receives the decision of the TPZ and what the outcome would be regarding the either approval or denial or request for change? It just kind of drops it there, and then there's nothing else for follow-up.
Yeah.
I mean,
I don't want any, I'm not looking for anything too stringent or too detailed, because I know we want to, we don't want to get bound too tightly, but at the same time, that's the only time that the TPZ is even mentioned in here.
So Lauren, you tell me if I'm wrong, but obviously, if the TPZ side of this and the Section 824 referral, that is a defined process in its own right. I know that. And so we have that designated elsewhere in our procedures and in the responsibility to follow those procedures that we have as a council. And so including him in here is not necessarily necessary, because it's kind of inherent that if there was a denial of an 824 referral, there is a process that follows from that, that's separate from this entire project, but that is, everything is subject to, every project or acquisition is subject to.
Well, it's within the town planning and zoning commission, how they review as to what they do. If we add more specifics here, we're kind of telling the planning commission what to do, which may not jive with what their procedures are at the present time. So I don't see how we can tell them what to do or not to do in a specific way.
I don't want any, that wasn't my intention, but there's nothing in terms of follow-up that do we have is it clear enough here in number 3 that the TPZ will somehow report back their determination?
So the TPC gets the review of the project. I wouldn't want to put anything in here that indicates that the TPZ can reject the project. They review it and they report back to the council, but they don't say this project is denied. They don't have that authority.
They just say it doesn't comply.
It does or
with
does not comply with the POCD.
Plan of Conservation Development.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that's all I'm looking for. Just refer the proposed location of the facility to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission for its review, consistent with Connecticut general statutes. And you just said it, Lauren. Now I'm trying to remember the few words that you mentioned. Essentially report back to the council.
Well, don't they do that anyway with everything?
The TPZ?
Yeah.
No, they're their own.
Yeah, but when it involves
Little
something
fiefdom.
that the town's going to do
Sure.
or not do something, they report.
I guess I just wanted to make that really clear, in case somebody says, well, then how do we know what the results are of the TPZ? Is it going, do we want to be that specific in here, saying that the results of their determination is reported back to the either to the commission or to the commission and town council?
Yeah, I mean, I think again, their review under 824 is this, and they have to, as you said, Dave, they, if after they make a determination, they have to, notify us of that determination so that we know whether or not to move forward with something, whether it's an acquisition or a project initiation or something like that. And
yeah,
so
that's my understanding. I may be wrong, but that's my understanding.
that's my understanding too. So, I mean,
And
Lauren,
planning and zoning doesn't determine whether the project complies with conservation and development. That would be a separate proposal to the Conservation Commission. If indeed it was something that impacted conservation or wetlands.
The POCD is the 10-year plan of the Town Planning and Zoning Commission.
Oh, okay.
But I'm just going to caution that we probably don't need this also, because I think leaving it purposefully referencing the statute allows that if the statute were to change and give them more authority, this document would automatically live with that change of the CGS.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll go along with what the majority states. I just thought that we had that one reference to TPZ and nothing else. And I just, we've had enough. I've heard enough during public participation how this person or that person has read or interpreted statutes and pieces of the charter. So I guess we're going to get that no matter what.
I mean, Lauren, if your recommendation is that having this language could be problematic if the statute changes and there's additional language tagged onto it here, then I would just keep it as is.
Yeah, I just, I would always advocate for a document to be a living document and to be flexible for whether or not these changes were made at the state level.
Yeah, I agree, but I do understand Tim's point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I think we all agreed that we don't want this to be so tight and so detailed that
it restricts us in the future.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true.
We don't want to have to go back and create another subcommittee.
But this has been such fun. What do you mean?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Good. Any other thoughts on section 3, project initiation from counselors or from you, Lauren?
I think I'm good with that.
We're good. Okay, section 4, preliminary steps.
Looked good to me.
Yeah, so
this. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'll jump in. So this was just, as you see here, what's highlighted and the proposed project details is listed in this section. We, if you'll recall, prior in the ordinance, defined the statement of need, which is pretty much as detailed as you could possibly imagine. It's like a real chunk of a paragraph with a bunch of information as to what could or couldn't be included in a statement of need. And so as to not muddy that and to honor the work of having defined the statement of need earlier in the draft, I thought we could just leave it at review the statement of need rather than and the proposed project details. So remove the highlighted section.
It's fine with me.
Fine with you?
Is there any, and I didn't see it when I looked through this, did we mention anything about holding a public hearing?
Let's check.
Not earlier, I don't believe.
Because don't we do that? I'm just wondering if it needs to go someplace as part of this whole process. I just thought about that.
Hold a public hearing prior to authorizing funding. So that probably would go down here in the appropriation.
Okay.
It's vague. It says or initiate the process of transmitting the appropriations referendum, which would trigger a public hearing under the charter. But let's keep that thought when we get to the next step.
Okay, sounds good.
Thank you, Councilor. Any other? Everybody good? Councilor Rod, are you good with removing in the proposed project details? That highlighted section.
Yeah, because what I'm looking at, what I printed out was the clean version. So all of that has been removed.
Oh, yeah. Good. Wonderful.
So what I'm looking at is I'm very happy with what I've been looking at.
Great. Thank you.
Great.
This next comment, I'm seeing an additional comment on my copy, I think, just before that, which is in consultation with the proposing body. So this is that first line, the commission shall in consultation with the proposing body. I think I had a comment like, what does this actually look like? And to the points that have been made, we don't want to be overly specific, obviously, and say, well, it needs to be exactly this and you need to do exactly this. But I think leaving it this general is potentially problematic if consultation can mean, well, I sent an email and never got a response back, but I sent the email and I consulted, whatever. Then that's not really consultation in any meaningful way. So I just wanted to open some discussion and also recommendation from you, Lauren, on what that could look like. Next, in this section, we have this idea to hold at least one joint meeting. Do we want to put all our stock in that? Do we want to define any additional kind of specific actionable consultation between the commission and the proposing body? Just open up some discussion about that.
My initial thought is the more streamlined, the better.
Yeah. And I think we can just reword that then to say the commission shall hold at least one joint meeting with these other people to review the statement of need.
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Me three.
So it'll now, that first sentence will say the commission shall hold at least one joint meeting of the town council, the commission and the proposing body to review the statement of need. Within 30 days, the commission shall report to the town council on any recommended modifications or updates to the anticipated scope and cost of the project as identified in the statement of need.
Right. Do we think it's redundant to add then within 30 days, the commission shall then add there in consultation with the proposing body, report to the town council, et cetera, et cetera. So again, they've met a minimum of consultation with the proposing body, but it may be that more is necessary. Are we good with that?
Would that do it?
I'm good with that. Councilor Nagel, Councilor Rada?
Fine. I don't know whether there's really a need for it, but I will not object if it's there.
Okay.
And what if they don't determine that there is a need for further consultation? I'm just thinking, I'm playing devil's advocate. The three groups have met. Then the commission has 30 days to report back to the town council their recommended modifications.
Well, Lauren, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I think they could certainly recommend no changes. So any recommended modifications, maybe report to the town council on any recommended modifications or updates as needed to the anticipated scope and cost of the project.
Yeah, I mean, we can leave it as is too. I think as is it still works.
I think it works as is, but then again, it doesn't make that much of a difference to me.
I think Councilor Rada, you could be the tiebreaker, but but I'm fine either way. But I think having the commission shall, in further consultation with the proposing body, et cetera, just in the event that further consultation is necessary. But I think your question was about it was about the recommendation they eventually make to the council, whether or not if they recommend no changes, having some specificity here that they can recommend modifications or they can recommend, things stay the same. Am I right? That was your question.
Yeah, but as I'm looking at this, we have already stated that shall, where are we? Hold at least, at least one joint meeting of the council. I mean, that's at least, I mean, if we have to go back and say, hold another meeting, that kind of gives us the wiggle room. I mean, otherwise this could go on forever. I like the idea of within 30 days, the commission's going to come up with a report that will be presented to the town council. And those whatever they're going to recommend will be after having that joint meeting, and at least once, maybe they have to have another one, but that at least gives us an opening for more than one meeting on this. I just feel like, how many times are they going to go back and forth?
I'm sorry, Kim. Can these groups ask for an extension no matter what's written here? Lauren?
That's a good idea. I also just want to clarify, I think we have to clarify the within 30 days of what, right? Within 30 days of the joint meeting, within 30 days of the project initiation, within 30 days of them being charged, you know what I mean? Because I can see that coming up as a question that would be posed to me is, when does this 30 days kick in?
Mm-hmm.
I think it ought to be within 30 days following the joint meeting.
That would make sense.
Yeah.
Whether we like that amount of time or not, that makes sense given that they need time after they meet, possibly. And you don't give it to them if you just make it 30 days before they meet.
Could we add something? I can't remember whether it was Dave or Matt just said, is there within 30 days following joint meeting, the commission shall report to the town council on any recommended, something like that they have the option to request an extension, a 30-day extension. And I'm thinking if they see that there is a greater need for time, that there's something that they can't really finalize or come together on.
That brings me back to the question I asked Lauren before, or simply because this is here, can the council or whoever extend an extension if there's a warranted time, or do we have to once again be specific within this and then tie them into a specific timeline? Or how many extensions do you want, being devil's advocate too?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, I think that's good. I was just going to say it should be a time-bound extension of some kind.
Because here's the thing, right? If it's going to take them longer than that, because there's just so much to then we probably have to go back and consider if the statement of need is accurate. You know what I mean? You probably have to almost scrap it and go back to the beginning and start it over.
Yeah.
Now, it kind of as an aside to Dave's question, for the joint meetings, obviously, but at least one is required. Who would? Perhaps we'd have some language in here specifying who can call additional meetings or request additional meetings. Is it the council? Is it the commission? Is it the proposing body? Is it a combination of those three in some way? Seems to me the easiest thing would be to make it the council. But if the commission is the one compiling their recommendations and reports, then perhaps it should be the commission. So I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think we want to just also kind of respect the process of, if we have a project that we feel triggers this commission, that the authority of the project becomes theirs, right? Like that's how we currently operate. It's not a council project anymore. Council kind of takes a step back and says, we're giving this project to these qualified individuals, dedicated volunteers from the town whom we trust. So we don't want to do anything, I think, in this that would also usurp their authority anywhere else. So I think
agree.
we could say, maybe we can say, the commission may request joint meetings as needed to review the statement of need.
Yes.
Or, yeah.
The commission shall at least. I would just add the town council in.
I did it twice. I'm gonna go back and fix it. Oh,
Perfect.
no, I did fix it down there.
Thanks.
Yep.
I know sometimes we do one.
I made
sometimes
that
we do
mental note. Yeah.
Good. Thank you. Okay. Any additional questions, changes, etc. in section 4? I see that note there about costs, and I think that's more appropriate in section 5.
That's down. Yeah. The problem is we had so many comments on section 5 that they kind of floated up in the margins, but it is down here in 5.
Thank you. Any other comments on section 4?
No.
We're good. Great. Good discussion.
All right.
Okay, section 5. The fun part. The money.
Yes. So I'm going to try to read it from the clean as much as we can to what you guys have already changed. So should the town council, after reviewing the recommendations of the commission, determine that the statement of need and modifications within the preliminary steps are acceptable for funding, the town council shall establish an appropriation for the major construction in accordance with the town charter and any other applicable town policy or procedure, or initiate the process of transmitting the appropriation to referendum in accordance with town charter section 408. The electors of the town do not approve the appropriation for the project, the town council shall determine if the commission shall propose a revised plan and appropriation request.
So the comment I had above there, with regards to the cost, was relative to the use of the word shall. The statement of need and modifications within the preliminary steps are acceptable for funding. I mean, that kind of leaves it open, but not, I mean, there's not a precedent for that kind of language. The town council shall establish an appropriation, but the council may no longer wish to pursue the project if they find that the project is 3 times more, 2 times more, or for whatever different reason. So I mean, I think it can be solved. Lauren, tell me if I'm wrong, but just the town council may establish an appropriation. Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Is everybody good with that change?
Shall is always a problem in any document.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
The only other, and it's kind of nitpicky, is town charter C .408. Do we need to put article, whatever the article is, and then put the section mark C .408? So that we're very specific about where in the charter it occurs?
I can go in and do the fancy thing later, but that is just what it is. It's just section 408.
What article?
Screen. There is no article. It's just literally labeled C408 in the charter. Yeah.
The other item,
see it.
I can you folks still see the copy? We're good. Okay. The other thing was just with regards to the final section, if the electors of the town do not approve the appropriation for the project, maybe do not approve the appropriation for the project at referendum. It's maybe useful. They may not approve of the appropriation if it's not at referendum too. But
you know what? Yeah, let's change. If the electors of the town, we can say if the results of the vote of referendum, right, do not approve the appropriation, because then it's not a personal opinion. It's
yeah,
the vote tally says no.
Yes, that's right. The second half of that, the town council shall determine if the commission shall propose a revised plan and appropriation request. So I just want to flag this because this is some way in which, and there are many ways in which this process changes because we're introducing this commission. Much of those ways come later in this process in the next section we're about to go through. But here is one of the first ones, which is usually, as we've just recently seen, a project will fail, and it goes back to what in this case would be the proposing body, that department or commission set up to review a project. In this case, obviously the proposing body still exists, but this would have a project go back to the commission, the Permanent Municipal Building Commission, to review and and discuss a revised plan if the council charge them to do so. So I just want to flag that for folks. And if there's any discussion about that or discomfort.
I was just thinking exactly the same thing, that rather than going back to the commission, shouldn't it go back to the proposing body? If they want to scrap the entire project, or if they want to modify it, and then that goes to the commission again. That's a whole. It would be a whole new proposal.
I mean, it sounds to me.
I don't feel like it's the. I don't feel like it's the responsibility of the commission to then regroup and recreate or modify a proposed plan, that it's the proposing body that has the onus to do that?
So I would just say that I hear you, Kim, and I my impulse at first
I'm thinking of things that we are or maybe facing in the very near future.
Yeah, no, I happen to agree to a large extent. I think if my interest, I think, in empowering the commission, it goes to the point that Lauren earlier made that, first of all, we're investing all this time in this commission. We ought to invest it with the authority to take a project forward and to work within the bounds of a project. But more specific to that, I go back and I look at what is the role of the proposing body actually in this process. And the role of the proposing body is to create and generate a statement of need that's then presented to the council. If a project were to fail at referendum, it's not as though the statement of need changes. Now, sure, it may take a long time and the process, the project might be that much more dire and that might change a statement of need. But generally, the statement of need will stay the same. The project is still necessary or needed, at least, by the people who have their eyes on this process. But what needs to change is the appropriation. What might need to change is what's included in the project scope, based on that statement of needs, the scope, and that falls all within the bounds of the commission. So, I mean,
I disagree. I think that falls within the realm of the proposing body.
Maybe it's helpful, and Lauren, you tell me if you think this is helpful too. Could we scroll back up to the definition of the statement of need, which is, I think, on the second page? And just see, because Kim, you may well be right, and that might be a proper process. And if that's the case, we'd want to make sure that as the part of that statement of need, it does discuss scope, etc. So we should look at that.
Statement of need is a written narrative provided by the proposing body presenting the public interest reasons for undertaking a major construction, etc., etc. And the proposing body is the department board, whatever, sponsoring or requesting a major construction project. So it's my feeling is the Permanent Municipal Building Commission is then takes ownership or actually is charged with the rollout and the actual construction, the actual project itself, but they're not the ones proposing it. They're not, I feel like they're not the ones with all the skin in the game. My feeling is it should go back to the proposing body to, as we may well see in the near future, to make any kind of changes, any additions or deletions, and then that comes back to the commission. Then the commission regroups with what we would relatively be a new proposal. If an initial proposal fails at referendum.
That's true.
Sure. Yeah, I think you're right, Kim. I think you're
After
right.
reading that again, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm glad we had the
Because it's
discussion.
not, we're not asking we're not, I mean, my feeling as I envision the work of the building commission is that they aren't the ones that are creating the project. They're the ones charged with, it's the word I'm trying to think of, the execution of a project that has been approved, either through appropriation or through referendum, but they're not the ones that are proposing it. There may be, for example, and we've shown examples where there would be voting or non-voting members specific to whether it's a board of ed or a Newington Public Schools project, a fire department, a library, but they're not the ones that are coming forward with the proposed plan or with the need.
Yeah, I think you're right. And also I think this is really fundamental. And I'm glad we had the discussion and thank you, Councillor Rada, for the points, because like you said, the proposing bodies, the folks with the skin in the game. In other words, they're the grassroots stakeholders that are here with the greatest interest. We use this term interest groups or something. You had a great term of art that we used earlier in this previous draft, Lauren, and that is what these people are. They are the most interested in this project, and they should set the stage for what moves on beyond it. The commission will, intervene with its expertise to shave off the fat and do the other things and provide its advice and actually carry the project
and make
forward.
sure that it moves forward appropriately and that it's executed in the best possible way and following this whole process that we're setting out right now.
That's right. But before that, the proposing body plays that fundamental role of setting the agenda in a large way. That's why they're first. So I think that makes a lot of sense. The only thing I'd maybe ask for your advice on, Lauren, is do you think then it's necessary for us to specify that, just to be clear, it goes back, should the council make a determination that they want this to go back to the proposing body, that the proposing body now needs to go through steps 2 through 5 all over again. It's not as though you skip your place in like line. You've got to get back into the process, and all the timelines still apply, et cetera, 90 days, 30 days, et cetera.
Yeah.
Do you want to specify that?
Yes, we have to change this because the appropriation request, even keeping this, we can't keep it as is anyways, because the appropriation recommendation is coming from the commission. So the town council shall determine if the proposing body shall propose a revised plan, and if the major construction project, what do we call this? Building project procedures. Project shall one through four. No, two through four.
Yeah, two through.
We'll say 2 through 5 because it's got to go back to an appropriation too. Just so if the results of the vote of referendum do not approve the appropriation for the project, the town council shall determine if the proposing body shall propose a revised plan, and if the major construction project shall follow building project procedures items 2 through 4 as indicated above.
It
Might
said
I
this,
also,
how about and that?
I'm sorry, you
And
guys were
that the
talking at
major
the same time.
construction project?
That.
Oh, good. Councilor Nagel, you were going to say something as well?
yeah, we had to be more picky. We have shall,
Mhm.
and we need to be more specific, or that word is gonna
Yeah,
be something that
lose its
people
meaning.
able to just manipulate with.
Is it may
So,
or will?
It could may is fine with me, or can.
Keeping the shall here makes the council have to make a decision.
Yeah.
So
Can
do we
just
want
just
to?
throw a word out.
Town council shall determine if the proposing body
If we have to do it,
presents a revised
will.
plan. Get rid of shall and propose and say shall determine if the proposing body presents a revised plan. How's that sound? And that the major construction project will follow building project procedures.
It gets rid of some of those shells. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
But
after
we're
all
okay
of this,
keeping it. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, after all of this, neither Dave, Matt, or I will ever want to serve on a municipal building commission.
You speak for yourself. This sounds like a ton of fun.
Oh, you knock yourself out. You just go right ahead.
As the only
I know
one
we had to
in
really
right
fight on
now.
my side of the aisle to get this position.
To answer your question, Lauren, I am good with keeping shall.
In the beginning, I am. Yeah, I would advise to keep it too. I just want to make sure we're all clear that this is saying the council has to make a decision if it fails, right? Which I think is appropriate.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've gotten rid of 3 or 4 shells in a
The
row,
other
so
ones.
that helps.
Shall determine. Maybe I'm sorry to belabor, but it just still sounds weird. If the town council shall determine if the proposing body will present a revised plan, and that the major construction project, because if you read it, shall determine if the proposing body presents a revised plan. I think that's now there's a lot of wills involved, but
Yeah.
Are we good with section 5? That was a great discussion.
Yep. This looks good.
Looks good.
Moving right along.
And that was good. That comment was fine. Perfect. All right. We are just for reference, we have 4 minutes. So we're going to spend 2 minutes talking, or 3 minutes talking about section 6. We will get as far as we can, and then we will finish up. I don't want to take too much of folks' time. So section 6.
I didn't have anything up until B, where we have they may
Okay.
dot, dot, dot. What
Say
do we
that
need to
again?
fill in
I'm so
there?
sorry.
6B, at the end, it says
Yeah.
they may dot, dot,
According
dot.
to yeah, if in consultation with the President's Commission finds new changes in the story here.
It's the very last
Oh,
two
sure.
words.
Huh.
My question was they may what?
Yeah. Okay.
I had here added in, they may establish an appropriation, etc., lift from section 5 appropriation. It sounds like that's because this is about, yeah, this is about changes to the overall costs. So maybe an additional appropriation. Determine that an additional appropriation, they may establish an additional appropriation in accordance with section 5, which is the section we just went over. Is my suggestion. Lauren, do you have an additional suggestion?
Yeah, I'm just trying to look up where we lifted this whole thing from. Okay, so this is commission charge. Is okay. Because now that I'm looking at it, I'm like, is it redundant? Do you know what I mean?
I think it's redundant. Others feel welcome to jump in. Redundant insofar as it would just reiterate, I think, the section above. But I think it is important to specify that if a cost, if there's a change in cost, that this is where this would need to happen. That, section 5 is done. Let's the project that goes to referendum. Oh my gosh, my camera, pardon me. But now is the time when the commission would be responsible for requesting an additional appropriation. Because I don't see that specified elsewhere if a project goes above its original cost.
Council may establish an appropriation following the guidelines section. Building project procedures, section 5. Does that make sense then?
Makes sense to me. Councilor Nagel, Councilor Rada, Deputy Mayor Rada, excuse me.
Fine.
Yeah, I'm looking because there's also there's a statement somewhere. No, I was thinking of something else. I was thinking of shifting funds around and making that it's usually what am I trying to say, Lauren? It's the chair of the
change
building
orders?
committee. What?
Are you talking about like change orders and the different budget
Yeah, that
appropriations?
up to a certain, what is it, up to a certain amount of a certain dollar amount, the chair
The
can
chair is
make
allowed,
those changes. Yeah, and I think we have that in there somewhere. I remember reading that.
Yeah, so I'm just going to resolve that one really quick. This sounds like the notes that are on the next item, C. Matt had asked, when will the commission need to come to the town council to review alterations or go to the proposing body? And then I had stated, as long as the changes are not substantial, as long as they don't say we're going to build a new school and then next week the change is that no, we're going to renovate as new this school, that's a substantial change.
Right.
As long as the changes are not substantial, they're within the scope of the overall project and they don't require additional funds, the commission is allowed that authority. And
Right.
to your point, Kim, we have allowed the commissions to give that authority up to $25,000 to the chair.
Yes.
I don't know if we have to specify that in this document or if doing, but I mean, we could just to kind of codify that that's something that we would allow.
I would lean more towards codification, codifying it, so that it doesn't change. Well, it was 25,000 for this project. How come it's only 15,000 and we want it to be 40,000 for another? That we have a well-established, and it has proven from what I've observed to be a reasonable amount.
Yeah. So we can add something here. Go ahead.
Just a quick question. Deputy Mayor Rada and Councilor Nagel have been on building commissions. I have not, but the standard process, the standard authority that a building commission has is obviously in statute. Can we, and that statute, I assume, specifies what my camera, geez, whatever. That statute, I assume, specifies what changes are substantial enough to warrant going beyond the commission and what changes fall within the commission scope. Can we just reference back to that statute that supervise the construction or alteration of the building project in accordance with Section X of Connecticut General Statutes empowering project or empowering building committees or something like that? Does that not get us?
How did, now this was before both Dave or I got on the Anna Reynolds building committee, but Dave, you may have been on building committees in the past. How was it determined that anything up to 25,000 would be within the scope of the chair of the committee to make those?
I can answer that for you.
I don't remember, and forgive me if I turn the mic off every once in a while. My dog has decided to bark at the world.
Been there. No problem. Lauren, I think you said you wanted to jump in.
Can you hear him?
Yes, we can hear you fine.
So, to the notes that I received from my predecessor, that became an appropriate number because of our purchasing procedures. So right now, our procurement policy states that department heads can expend budgeted funds up to an amount not exceeding $24,999. And at $25,000, it triggers 3 quotes. And at $30,000, it triggers a bid. So they use that $25,000 as it was in the procurement policy. So if we were to change that procurement policy, that $25,000 threshold could change. Also, other towns have that number much higher, and some towns actually around us have that number at like $5,000. So that's where that number came from, is that felt like a fiscally responsible number to allow the chair to manage without having to get approval prior to doing it, but to make the chair report back to the committee on anything that they approved up to that $25,000.
I'm very comfortable with that, and it seems to be working well. I wouldn't want to increase that number. And I feel like, now having been on a couple of these building committees and understanding the scope of and the amount that we're working with, I think anything under 24,999 would really, it would hamper the progress of the project.
Yeah.
It would seem to be acceptable. And I think it's the going thing for building committees, from what I understand, including the ones that Kim and I recently have been on or are on, aside from this.
Do we have the same amount for John Wallace, Lauren?
Yep.
I believe so.
Yep.
Is it? Okay. And it's not pulling, say, $15,000 out of the air, isn't it? Looking at the budget and knowing all of the line items and the amounts for each item, and knowing that we can shift funding around. It's not really reaching out to a bank or reaching out somewhere else and say, we need an additional 15,000. It's within the scope of the entire project budget, correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it says that here, within the project budget, yeah.
Yep.
So, yes. And I would argue, go ahead.
No, I was going to say my only question as I read through this was C2, that we talk about being sent, if there's an additional request, that it be sent to the council for review and approval. But there's nothing that addresses if the council chooses not to approve.
Hmm.
So, thank you.
Jumping the gun a little bit.
No, that's okay. I just want to make sure, because I think we're actually very close to finishing this draft, which is phenomenal. Lauren, you had a hard stop for 3:45, remind me, is that right?
Yes. Yep, 3:45.
So if folks I anticipated an hour, but if folks are good to stay on, let's say for 3:30, I think we can get very close to completion. If Councilor Nagel, that's fine with you, and Deputy Mayor Rada, if that's fine with you.
Yep, I just have to go to Glastonbury and get back before 5:15. I do have a couple of small comments or questions at the beginning, but of the document, but I'd rather we finish up with this right now.
That's great.
Yeah,
so let's go back to, we're still going to stay in section 6, but I just want to make sure there's a method to our madness here, and go back to the beginning of section 6 and just go in order. We had a great discussion about section C, but in case there are discussions to be had about the prior sections. So
So in the first sentence, we just took out this additional language about ex officio and advisory members. Matt had a comment that remove this, it seems inherent. We talk about this, I feel, in the beginning ad nauseum about what the other non-voting members are. So I agree with you with that. I have removed all of the references to electronic consultants because that's something that we said wasn't applicable to major construction. We changed all the different various ways that we call the project major construction to just saying major construction. As you know, we had several different turns of phrase throughout the document. So I just went through and made those changes in every instance.
wonderful.
We did take out this last sentence: employment of the person, firm, or corporation so selected shall be by contract approved by the town council and executed by the town manager. It says it at the beginning, solicit and recommend to the council for its approval and execution by the town manager. We don't need to say it twice.
All right.
And then we get to section B, which we just reviewed, and we added that language about additional appropriations that would go back to following the guidelines of this prior section 5. if there were anything that would trigger additional cost outside of what was approved for the project.
One thing I had here was in section B, should the town council, after reviewing the changes that may affect the overall costs, is it necessary or maybe proper that we would just specify what would need to accompany those the materials that the council would need to review? So, financial receipts to date or commitments and expenditures to date, et cetera, that would need to accompany that request, just to specify that a bit more? Or is that too much specification?
I want to say that that's too much specificity, given that in my experience, this would happen if, let's say, we opened a wall and realized it was hot and we didn't know that before. Like, it's not going to generally be just because we've because of anything known. So giving you known costs and expenditures and statements is great, but it doesn't necessarily speak to the financial need on the unknown issue.
Great. So those changes in A and in B, Councilor Nagel, Deputy Mayor Rada, are we good with those changes in A and B?
Yep.
I am.
We're good? Okay.
Right.
So section C. Section C, we discussed that first section. Obviously, we'll find the citation for the statute, but beyond that, those two changes in that first section, are we good with those changes?
Yes.
Right.
Okay. Moving on to I thought that I could stand alone as a section D in its own right, just because it defines something, emergencies, situations, circumstances, etc. So I thought it could stand alone, but beyond that, oh, and I also did write that perhaps it's helpful for us to specify emergency circumstances, situations in the definition section rather than here. It seems like it's kind of buried at the end. Obviously keep the process for what happens when one is identified, but move the definition of the circumstances actually to the definition section earlier in the draft. That was my suggestion.
I'm going to make myself a comment here to move this to new definition section.
Are we good with that change, Councilor Nagel and Deputy Mayor Rada?
Sure, we are.
Okay.
I think.
And just also at the end of that, prompt written notification of such situations should be brought to the proposing body and the council and town manager's attention, something like that. I mean, it seems like it would come to the town manager and he or she would give it to us. So.
Well, so we can say should be brought to the proposing body and the town, by the town manager. Okay.
And now I'm looking at, we moved I or to that became D. I'm looking at 2 or whatever the next one, if applicable.
Old 2,
I see that as E. And take out if applicable, if determined that additional funding is needed. I mean, this is something that's separate and really something that is critical, would be something critical to the project. And that's where I read through all of this, and it talks about review and approval by majority vote, and then any changes have to go to the director of finance to see if the funds are available. But then my question was, there's nothing in here that says if not approved.
So I want to talk about two comments that you just made. The first one is that this should not be a subsection of the emergency, but that this new one should really be its own section about additional funding.
It should be E, yeah.
But I think we can maybe pull some stuff out of B and make it one section about additional funding, because we don't need to talk about it twice. Whether it's for an emergency need or it's for a change in scope, it's still an additional request, right?
Exactly.
So B is they report to the town council, right?
Mm-hmm.
Any final, so should the town council agree the changes made the overall cost? I feel like A is fine, right? This is, we're going to give the work to somebody within the budget. I feel like C should become B, right? Because this is all work within the budget, as is A.
Yep, you're right.
So this becomes B. Then we have determine if, emergency modifications or change in the contract.
I think that should be C.
Yeah, these are things that
D.
do not affect. So I feel like this should we move this one to C, and then we have in D and E things that are going to require an additional appropriation approved. So
I would agree with that.
Recommend, okay, supervise everything. If applicable, we're going to determine if there's an emergency. Move this up to C. And then we have D, report to the council if in consultation with the proposing body, they find new charges or any new changes in the statement of need or final plans that may cause any change in the overall cost of major construction outside of the approved appropriation. And then I feel like this section I can become a subsection of D, right? So they're going to report to the town council if for any reason they find that there are changes that change either that modify the statement of need or that modify the cost. And then if we're modifying the cost, here's what it looks like.
Can folks hear me? I was going to jump in.
I can hear you now.
Okay. All right. Sorry. Which was just the, I think you're right. Most of that last section, though, seems to me like completely just an iteration of the previous paragraph. I think the only section in there that seems to me new and maybe worth keeping in that now section D is the last sentence. Any change order requiring an increase in cost above the original construction contract shall be subject to the approval of the director of finance. But the rest seems like we've already discussed that, whether it's here or in section 5. Not to mention we're adding information about council procedures in here, which I don't think is where this should have.
Yeah.
So I think I'm not sure, and I mean, this is kind of just nitpicky organizational, but I think D and I can just be D. I don't know that there needs to be
Okay.
a
A
subsection.
separate, okay.
How was, and Dave, you may have been on the council at the time. I keep hearing that with the construction of the new town hall, that it went, there were additional costs. And how did that went back to the town council what was the process at that point in time?
There was a section of the building of the town hall when I was not on the council. So, and it kind of got lost in the weeds with the town manager doing things that the building committee should do, not to get into all the details of that. So I'm not quite certain what happened.
Okay.
For part of it, I wasn't there, and then unusual were happening. Let's put it that way.
Okay. I just wondered if there was something specific that we could put in here, but it sounds like it was a pretty fuzzy area.
There should be, or there should have been, but it
Okay.
kind of got lost from my understanding. And as I say, I wasn't on it the full time.
So it sounds to me then that what we're creating here and how what we've scoped out provides that clarity and that structure.
Probably, yeah.
I mean, this is pretty clear what the process is to follow.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, we do want some flexibility, but at the same time, we don't want this again to end up being a free-for-all.
This is good. I think this was a very, very good discussion. So we the letters got mixed up, but I think we were primarily discussing what is now D. Any additional comments, questions about section D with regards to the changes that are there?
No.
So is there any need to say if it is not approved? Do we need any language related to that?
I think that that's inherent in the town council may establish, so they may not, right?
Mhm.
And they would just, I mean, the council would just go back to the building commission and the proposing body and say, there is no further appropriation, work within your budget.
Yeah,
I
pretty
mean,
much.
they really don't. I mean, there is no alternative.
Yeah.
I'm good with that.
That is one thing that did happen with the town hall building committee. They were confined to a certain amount, and they had to find creative ways to deal with things and to I believe find funds for certain things. They got to be a quagmire.
Okay.
Good. So if we are good with section, oh, I'm sorry, Councilor Nagel.
Okay, forgive me for a minute.
That's fine. When Councilor Nagel returns, we will talk section 7, which I don't, I should say, I didn't write many changes to, but we'll discuss that. And that is our last change before we return to the start, which we can do first thing at our next meeting, unless we have a few minutes.
If you guys are okay, I'm just going to take a brief moment also, and
Sure.
we should be back at the same time as Councilor Nagel. Thank you.
Okay. I told
Lauren
them to go away.
Let's see if it works.
It won't. It's a relative.
Lauren just stepped away very briefly, but she'll be back as well.
Oh, okay.
I think we've done a great job with this.
Of course we did. I'll go check on my dog since we're on hold.
Is tonight the night, is there something going on at the church tonight, related to homelessness? I know tonight's the night that, Center Church in Hartford is having their sleep out. And I think we're up in Willimantic, and I'm not going to it. They're having a memorial for homeless folks who have passed. But I thought I saw something about, the Congregational Church in the center of town was doing something. You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, not that I'm aware of, but I could be wrong. It's likely I'm wrong.
These things, come through on Facebook. You don't always get a text, and
Sure.
I'm back.
Okay,
Okay.
perfect. Wonderful. So we're good with D. We will have a brief discussion about section 7 and our last page. Moving to
Alright. Final acceptance.
I read it and everything looked fine to me. Savings clause looked good. I didn't see anything that I would propose a change to.
the only thing that I had was this is towards like 2/3 of the way through when a project has been fully and satisfactory completed and a final report has been received from the commission's chairperson. Received by whom? Maybe we should specify it's received by the council.
By the town council and town manager and council, because would it go to the town manager first, who would then? I'm trying to remember what happened when the town hall report was presented to us.
That
It
went
has
to the
to go.
council.
Yeah.
It was on the agenda, so the town manager saw it, but you all had to accept that final report.
Right, yeah, I remember he came to the council and gave his report.
So maybe we should say, and a final report from the commission chairperson has been approved by the town council, because that's how it would happen.
Mm-hmm.
The only additional change I identified was, or a suggestion I had was, so as to not make a sentence too long, the commission shall refer the facility to the town council for acceptance, period. Such referral shall include a report on the status, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
I'm sorry, where are you right now?
Oh, sure. That's all right. That's
okay, here we go.
A third of the way through. Yeah. For acceptance, period, and then their referral, the referral, whatever, shall include a report on the status of the facility, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Referral today, sorry.
That's okay.
So we just need to fix this sentence too, because the tense is all messed up. So when a project has been fully and satisfactorily completed and a final report from the commission's chairperson has been approved by the town council, the commission shall be dismissed. And after all outstanding bills have been paid and the town's independent annual audit has been completed, all unexpended balances in the building's projects funds shall revert to the town's general fund.
I would say, again, nitpicky, a period after dismissed.
And make it a
And
new
get rid of
sentence.
and just say
Yep.
after all outstanding. Yeah. Make that as, yeah.
That makes sense.
Good. Are we good with section 7? Councilor Nagel, Deputy Mayor Rada.
Yes.
Good. And are we good with the savings clause as written?
Yes.
Great. Well, we just finished our 5th draft, which is wonderful. And so I know that there were some questions.
Mine are pretty nitpicky. You're muted.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
That's so weird because it's not showing like the mute symbol.
That's so odd. Yeah. I was just going to say, if they are nitpicky, if they're grammatical, we will do them now. But if they are more exhaustive, we will hold them.
They're not substantial.
Okay, so we can move back to the start, if that's all right, Lauren.
Great. And then I would just say, if you're okay with it, obviously we're not referring anything to council yet, but now that we have a really solid draft, I will take whatever we end up with today and get it over for legal review. And then that way, when we meet again, we'll have all of your changes to review as a clean document, as well as any comments from the town attorney.
That's great.
Sounds like a plan.
Perfect.
Thank you, Lauren,
Great.
so much.
Yep.
So if you scroll down a little bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, keep on going. Okay, you got rid of 5. That's, yeah.
Yep.
We need to we just need to renumber. That was one of my nitpickies.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what? Actually, no, because don't worry about that yet. Because remember, I have to put in emergency back up here. So it's all going to get renumbered.
Okay. Do we need, under membership, do we need to identify that there will be 2 town council liaisons, non-voting members from each party to serve on the commission, or are we not going to have that? Because on every board or commission, we have a Democrat and a Republican council liaison.
Is that, as a follow-up to your question, Deputy Mayor Rada, Lauren, is that specified out somewhere in our charter, or has that just been common practice? I haven't seen it. I'm looking
actually to see if it's in your rules of procedure.
Okay.
Yeah, I put a question mark by it. I just wanted to find out if we need to have that in there or not.
I don't believe it's in there either, but check.
It's not.
Yeah. So it seems like it's just been like tradition, and
yeah, it's definitely past practice. It's definitely precedent. But if you want to codify it here, I think you can.
Well, I mean, that's something we can maybe discuss. I just realized as I was going through the membership that, with the other building committees and most other, except for say ethics, and there may be 1 or 2 others, we have council liaisons.
Yeah.
If you could review, Lauren, the charging ordinances of our other permanent standing commissions, and if there is reference to a liaison, then I think we should include it. But if there isn't, then we should have a larger discussion about that.
Yeah.
And then just to, I just want to confirm, we've got 5 voting members, 5 permanent voting members, 2 additional voting members, which are 7. And then anything related to the library would be an additional 2 voting members. So that would bring, for anything related to the library, would bring the membership up to 9. Is that correct?
I think, Lauren, you tell me if I'm wrong, but the 2 voting members appointed by the commission or to the commission by the council from the library are in place of the 2 additional voting members because the library is the proposing body.
100%. That is the intent of this section, that it will be the 5 permanent members and 2 more total, not 4 more. But Kim, to your point, I could see someone else coming to us and saying, well, it's not clear. It makes it sound. So,
and it wasn't clear to me because I know that we've talked many times about the library being, kind of a special situation.
We specifically kept it as its own item versus making it part of this second bullet because we wanted to be respectful of that public-private partnership that we have with the library and let them know that we specifically wanted to reference that relationship. So I think we can just add something here.
Maybe we could have it say 2 additional voting members, colon, and then 2 subsections, either are reviewed and recommended by the proposing body or those appointed or those appointed by the Board of Trustees.
2 additional
just something to clarify that we're not talking about 9 members, but it's still a 7-member commission.
Or use of the library as the library and sign property and benefit control purchase. Ownership control of Board of Trustees. Shall have appointed by project.
And I would imagine it would be the library Board of Trustees who would appoint those 2 members, right? I mean, is that how you think, Dave?
That was the point. That was the initial point. They would appoint them. Perfect. I'm happy with it either way, in case you're wondering why I'm not chiming in.
The ownership and control of the Board of Trustees. Shall appoint the 2 additional members. I don't know. We may have to wordsmith this a little bit, but
I will make a note about wordsmithing that section, but
yeah,
I think we're in agreement with the general structure.
Then the only other, let's see, I had a question about the last right at the end of terms. Where it says, or any member that serves, we could get rid of the or. That very last sentence just about, there you go.
Yeah, this is probably a leftover from another change.
And
the only other question, again, this can be for our next meeting under reimbursement, and I think we've talked about this in the past. Do we need examples? I mean, they could never be exhaustive, but I can see somebody asking, well, what does this mean? What falls under reimbursable expenses? is this a little too vague, or do we want to keep it this flexible? And we can talk about this another time because we don't have to go through examples, but I'm just concerned that somebody may ask what that might be, or within the commission present some type of voucher for reimbursement and then be told, no, that's not a necessary expense.
Yeah.
That down, we can discuss that in further
That's
detail.
the only, everything else we've covered.
Okay.
Great. The only thing I had in the beginning part of this was the recusal, excuse me, clause, but given that we will get some legal review on this draft, we'll hold off on that discussion.
Okay. And what I'll do is I'll send them
things may change a bit.
Sorry.
Yeah, things may change a bit once you bring us back feedback from the town attorney.
Exactly. I'm going to send them over a clean copy, but what I'll do on these new notes is I'll just tell them, like, please review this section for this new clarification so that they know, although it's a clean copy, it's not exact. Maybe it's not what we're hoping is the end result either.
I really appreciate everybody's work, and Lauren, especially the job that you've done with every single draft and redraft and edit. I think when we take a look at the next clean version, I feel like it's going to be very, very close to what we can then present to the council.
I agree with you.
Agreed. Thank you, Lauren, for all of your hard work and your patience and your fortitude through this whole process. It has been commendable. So thank you. And thank you, Kim and Dave, as well, for being so collaborative throughout this process. I think we are very close. So
I need to chime with a thanks to Lauren also. I don't want her to think that don't appreciate her.
Thank you.
No, thank you guys. This really has been a team effort, and Matt, thanks for coming in and meeting with me one-on-one and hammering through it.
Well, we appreciate all the time that you've taken and actually your knowledge and expertise that has really helped shape this. So that doesn't go unnoticed.
Well, thank you.
Terrific. Well,
I'll see you at 5:15. I'll see Lauren and Dave at 5:15, and then again at 5:45.
I have another meeting, so I will not be making it to the 5:15 and 5:45 meetings. But if I don't see any of you either on Zoom or in person between now and next week, I hope you have a great holiday break, and I look forward to seeing you in the new year.
And the same to you as well.
Thank you so much, Lauren. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas.
Dave,
Happy New Year.
Dave, I may be a few minutes late to the 5:15 meeting. I'm going to try to get over to Glastonbury and back again as quickly as I can. But if I'm a few minutes late, I'll be there.
I'll tell Steve.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Okay. Take care.
Kim and Dave, I'm so sorry. Can you hear me, Kim and Dave? I'm sorry.
Yep.
This is still a formal meeting, so we still have to go through the full adjournment process. So,
okay.
Oh, you're right.
I just want to make sure we've done so good up to this point. So with that being said, open it up for public participation. Anybody online, feel welcome to raise your hand using the Zoom function. Lauren, do we have any public participation?
I don't see anyone online.
Didn't think so. Thank you. Closing public participation. Counselors, any comments on public participation? Okay, with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Perfect. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you so much. Enjoy the break.
See ya.
Thanks.
Thanks.
See you soon.
See you later.